Beginning with a brief statement of facts which suggest this inquiry, I proceed to examine the explanation currently given in the name of political economy of the reason why, in spite of the increase of productive power, wages tend to the minimum of a bare living. This examination shows that the current doctrine of wages is founded upon a misconception, that in truth wages are produced by the labor for which they are paid, and should, other things being equal, increase with the number of laborers. Here the inquiry meets a doctrine which is the foundation and center of most important economic theories, and which has powerfully influenced thought in all directions, the Malthusian doctrine, that population tends to increase faster than subsistence. Examination, however, shows that this doctrine has no real support, either in fact or in analogy, and that when brought to a decisive test, it is utterly disproved. Thus far, the results of the inquiry, though extremely important, are mainly negative. They show that current theories do not satisfactorily explain the connection of poverty with material progress, but throw no light upon the problem itself, beyond showing that its solution must be sought in the laws which govern the distribution of wealth. It therefore becomes necessary to carry the inquiry into this field. A preliminary review shows that the three laws of distribution must necessarily correlate with each other, which, as laid down by the current political economy, they fail to do, and an examination of the terminology in use reveals the confusion of thought by which this discrepancy has been slurred over. Proceeding then to work out the laws of distribution, I first take up the law of rent. This, it is readily seen, is correctly apprehended by the current political economy, but it is also seen that the full scope of this law has not been appreciated, and that it involves as corollaries the laws of wages and interest. The cause which determines what part of the produce shall go to the landowner, necessarily determining what part shall be left for labor and capital. Without resting here, I proceed to an independent deduction of the laws of interest and wages. I have stopped to determine the real cause and justification of interest, and to point out a source of much misconception, the confounding of what are really the profits of monopoly with the legitimate earnings of capital. Then, returning to the main inquiry, investigation shows that interest must rise and fall with wages, and depends ultimately upon the same thing as rent, the margin of cultivation or point in production where rent begins. A similar but independent investigation of the law of wages yields similar harmonious results. Thus, the three laws of distribution are brought into mutual support and harmony, and the fact that with material progress, rent everywhere advances is seen to explain the fact that wages and interest do not advance.